Hi, my name is Kate. This is my channel and it's Friday, so this is my Friday reads. I've come home early from work today. Well, not that early, but I had a meeting and could escape a little bit early. So I'm ready to start my weekend. I have Monday off, so I have a 3-day weekend. I'm very excited. I've had a really big couple of weeks at work and I'm ready to just switch off my brain and delve into somebody else's problems. So I have 2 books that I'd like to finish and 1 book that I'd like to start this weekend. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is actually a audiobook. It's a romance novel. So it's a contemporary sports romance. It's about hockey players. It's the 2nd book in a series, and I believe it's only available through audio. So this is Pucked Up by Helena Hunting. I don't know if you can see that very well. It's about 11 hours long. I've got 3.5 left. It's a bit silly. It's a little bit of fluff. Sorry, that's my cat going crazy. Little bit silly. And I don't know why. I've realised that I'm really interested in stories about ice hockey specifically. And I don't know why. I live in Australia. Ice hockey is not a thing that we do. It's not a thing that we think about. I don't care about sports generally. But I've noticed that I'm drawn to narratives about people involved in ice hockey. So, whatever. This is the 2nd book in the series, and it's a little bit silly, a little bit slapstick. Got lots of fairly explicit sex, so if it's not your thing, I wouldn't bother. Some of the stuff I don't quite buy, and I'm not a fan of, well, I can handle the explicit sex. I don't like the gross out sex jokes that the characters tell. That's just part of their dialogue of banter that puts them in weird situations because whoop, too far, now it's weird. I'm not so keen on that, but I can get past it because the characters are interesting and it's a bit of light fluff and a bit of fun, and I'm enjoying it. The other book that I would like to finish this weekend is a science fiction novel called The Future of Another Timeline by Annalee Newitz. So it's a time travel kind of book. I'm on page 127, so the beginning of chapter 12. I put this down the other week, the end of last week. I had wanted to finish it last weekend, and instead I just stayed mindlessly at the TV all weekend. I find that while I'm reading it, I'm really enjoying it, but once I've put it down, it's taking a bit of effort to pick it back up, and I'm not quite sure what that's about. But it seems to be time travel is a thing. It has been a thing for time immemorial. It's always been a thing, and there's sort of become rules about what you can and cannot do, and international treaties and things about what you can and cannot do with your time travel journeys. But there's a women's rights group who are trying to track the development of women's rights through time. So they go back to Keys times to observe and to think about it, and they're sort of noticing that when they come back, things are changing. So women are coming back and be like, what do you mean abortion's not legal? And then they're coming back and go, what do you mean you think it is? Or even they've come back and they're like, why did you go there? And they're like, because Sarah told me to. And they go, who is Sarah? Sarah, your girlfriend, Sarah. Like, no, Sarah. I remember Sarah, but you don't. So something is changing, and they believe that there's a men's rights group that are deliberately making what they call edits to the timeline to walk back women's rights. So they're trying to, I believe the story is becoming about trying to combat this other group to at least get it back to where it's supposed to be at this point in the timeline, but more specifically they want to improve women's lots. So it's quite political, quite explicitly political. Oh my cat. They're not trying to explain the mechanics of time travel, which I really appreciate. It's more the exploration of the ramifications. If you could do this, how will that affect culture? Which I really like. I have read Annalee Newitz's previous book, Autonomous, and I quite like that as well. That was about basically AI and sentient AI and the rights of a sentient AI being, and how is that different from indentured servitude, and then how does that different again from poor people or imprisoned people or drug addicts? What is the difference between these things, and why do we assign these beings and these people different levels of humanity? So I feel like this is kind of a piece, and it's the kind of thing that I love, explicitly political things to get you to think about society as a whole. The next book that I want to be reading this weekend is one that I actually need to start. It's for my book club. So this is the book club that's I go to get me out of my comfort zone, without really getting me out of my comfort zone. So it's about the book club aims to read and discuss books by women about unlikable female characters. It's called the Bad Women Book Club. It's run by a local bookshop, and they do literary books. Occasionally they'll do some non-fiction, but it's mostly contemporary fiction, literary, capital L, literary books. So for the month of March, the book is Mary Lou is Everywhere by Sarah Elaine Smith. I don't know anything about it beyond what it says on the back, which seems to be about a girl who goes missing. I'm not sure if she's a child or a teenager or a young adult. They just call her a girl who goes missing, and it says the alarm is raised and the cops search for her, but not as hard as they would if she were a white girl. So I'm foreseeing a lot of stuff about race politics, and I don't think it's necessarily about the search for Mary Lou. It seems to be it's going to be more about the hole that she leaves behind and the people who are left and how they deal with her disappearance. So it's my thing, but not my thing. It's my themes that I'm interested in a genre that I'm less familiar with. So we'll see how that goes. But those are my reading goals for the weekend, so my 3-day weekend. And I hope you have a great reading weekend. And if you don't have a great reading weekend, I hope you at least have a great weekend. So I will see you next time. Bye.